Okay, we are going to take a look at code.org Unit 4, Lesson 3. This is the 25-26 curriculum, but it is probably not very different from the previous years. So up to this point, we should have learned what a variable is. As a reminder, a variable is just a named piece of code that allows us to store information. Right now, the two types of information we are storing in variables are numbers and strings. So with this first level activity, it wants us to discuss which line is a variable being created, which line is a variable being assigned. All right, lines 1 and 2 are variables being created. The VAR indicates that we're creating a variable. Remember, you only do that once. Once you create the variable, you then just refer to it by name. So we have a variable being created called my favorite number. And then on line 5, we are assigning a value to my favorite number, which is a number data type. We also, on line 2, create the variable my favorite food. And on line 8, we assign a value to my favorite food, which is the string pizza. These lines down here, this is just to test it out in the console log. Notice line 10 is telling the console log to print the string my favorite number is. Then on the next line is going to print the value stored in my favorite number. Line 13, it will print the string my favorite food is. In line 14, it's telling it to print the value stored in my favorite food. So let's speed this up. Let's click run. And there we go. My favorite number is 1. My favorite food is pizza. So what it wants us to do is to change it. Let's change the favorite number to 24. And let's change pizza to spaghetti. And let's clear out our console log, reset, and run again. And there you can see the string didn't change, but the value stored in the variable did, and we see something different there. And we'll move on to the next level. All right, this is just a reminder that the capitalization matters. We want to use that camel casing structure when possible. So if we have a two-word variable, remember we can't have spaces, but we want the first letter of each additional word to always be capitalized. If it's a one-word variable, we typically want it to be all lowercase. All right, so looks like we have some debugging to do here. So line 17, we start to get errors. Let's reset and see what's going on. Okay, so we have three variables: pet name, pet type, pet weight. They're all created, no values stored until pet name gets a string, Jackson. Pet type gets a string, iguana. Pet weight gets a number, 60. Down in the console log, we have a string, and then we refer to pet name, but there's a capitalization issue that needs to be a capital N. All right, next we have another string in the console log, and then pet type. We cannot have a space. We want to fix that. All right, and then especially we have another string. All right, this is just the wrong name. It's not weight. It is pet weight with a capital W. Okay, and then down here, the P in pet should be lowercase. All right, and now we are fixed. So if we click run, let's speed this up. We should see the story about the pet iguana named Jackson. For time's sake, I'm not going to fill this out, but it just wants you to add 3 lines to the story here. Make sure to reference at least one variable. So basically, you could have 2 lines where you just have console log and then a string that you made up. So, for example, I may decide to do console log, and then I'm going to do the string. My pet likes to sleep a lot. Okay. Then I put a semicolon. All right, and that's an example of how you would enter something to the console log. Obviously, we would just want to make references. And I do see I had an error here, that pet type, that's not a string. All right, so we want to fix that on line 27. Glad I stuck around for a second. Okay, so that should be all to do there. All right, we'll go to level 3. All right, this is introducing the operators. We have a plus operator, a subtraction operator, a multiplication operator, and a division operator. All right, as a reminder, this addition operator, this will allow you to combine 2 strings. It will allow you to combine a number with a string. The other 3 only work with number data types. Okay, so this one we want to run. How many hours in a week? So it does some calculations. What it wants us to do is practice using these. So coming down here, line 14, it wants us to add the code. So we can drag out a console log, and we want to add the numbers 1 to 10. So that's really going to be 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4 plus 5 plus 6 plus 7 plus 8 plus 9 plus 10. Okay. What do the numbers 1 through 10 multiply to? All right, we're going to do this exact same thing, but we're going to multiply. And this is, again, not going to be a string. It's going to be numbers. So 1, all right, times 2 times 3 times 4 times 5 times 6 times 7 times 8 times 9 times 10. All right, and then lastly, what is 1 divided by 7? Perhaps it wanted us to do something there. I think those are just blank spaces in between. I think they should remain blank. All right, so this one is a little bit easier. 1 divided by 7. Okay, let's reset, run, and there we go. All right, 1 through 10 add up to 55. 1 through 10 multiply to, is that 3,628,800, and 1 divided by 7. There we go. All right, so, all right, just a little practice there with those operators. Okay, level 4. All right, run the code to see how it works. All right, we're using this tool called a watcher, so you can plug in a variable such as my age and track it. So when we run, all right, we see my age change throughout. So it starts at 16, my age plus 1. All right, we can change it in the console log by adding, but notice it did not change the value of my age. Okay. Again, it's saying add code that uses variables and expressions to complete the story. There are comments to show you where. For time's sake, I'm going to skip over that. But again, I'll do one of them. So add code here to calculate your age in 50. So again, you can just do a console log. I'm just going to copy that one, paste it there. I'm just going to do plus 50. And there you go. You would just add it like that, and you would keep going with those. Okay, level 5, this is showing you that you can combine strings. So the string sun plus rise would combine to sunrise. The string of 4, so notice that is a string because it's in quotation marks, even though we see number 4. And the /n will allow you to have a new line. Okay, that is really all that's going over. So how many days have you been alive? Add code here. There are 3. So basically, what I'm wondering, they're adding the n there. I don't like to do it that way. What I'm going to do is I'm going to console log to answer this one question, and then I will move on, but you should get the gist of it. So how many days have you been alive? Okay, based on this person being 16, we'll use that, and we will say I have been alive for, I'm going to put the space inside that. Now I'm going to do plus, and then I'm going to do age times 365 plus, and then I'm going to do a space inside the quotes, days. And then after that, I'm going to do the new line. I just like to separate the new line. That's just my personal preference, but we can run it now. We should see that I've been alive. It did the calculation for us. It skipped a line and then went to the next one. Okay. Alrighty, finally got an app to use here. So this is the free money app. Run it, see what it does. Write code to make the +20 button work. All right, so let's run it. +5. Again, it's probably going slow. So we click that, and this value goes up by 5. All right, 20 is not working. Okay, so let's look in what we have. We have a variable called dollars. Starts out at 0. Each time the add 5 button is clicked, dollars gets the previous value stored in dollars +5. We then update the dollars label to show the text of the $sign plus the value stored in dollars, and then a sound plays. So we want to do the same thing down here so we're going to copy and paste that code. We just need to change the numbers a little bit. So instead of +5, it's going to be +20, and we are done. Okay, we want to feed the cats. This is our reminder app. It wants us to, it's showing us a new block. So we can use this cool tool called get text. It will pull text from an input field and store it in a variable for us or put it directly somewhere else. So we want to add code so that each reminder is added to a different line. Add code so that reminder input is cleared out when you click the remind button. So we're going to do both of those, okay? So we're going to go to text mode, and to make it be on a new line, we're just going to add the /n, and you'll see why I like to do it this way. All right, we can go back to block mode. Okay, that should work. Okay, so they want to set to all reminders, and then we also want to set the property of the reminder input. We want to set the text, and we're just going to clear it out and make it blank. Okay, so now when we run, we have feed the cats. We want to wash dishes. And let's add. Okay, notice it cleared it out. Let's say fold laundry. You click remind. Okay, there it is, and it's clearing out. Okay, so pretty short and sweet there. All right, this next level, there's a video from code.org about global versus local variables. Right now, all of our variables are created globally. That means they exist outside of functions or event handlers. In the real world, eventually you want to avoid doing that as much as possible, simply because you may be creating code that's going to be used another time. And if you're storing it in a library, you want that variable to be local, but that is for another time and another day. But a common issue that does occur is early on students want to put that VAR in front of a variable every time they use it. Once you've created it right now, just know it's been created. If it's created globally, you can refer to it anywhere else in the program, and it doesn't have to be redone. The difference you would see here is if I did not create it here, and I created it here and here, I could use the same name for a variable, but they would only exist within those functions. That's creating a mess we want to avoid for now. Okay, we have another app we're clicking. So there's a scope bug. So line 8 right there, that VAR we want to get rid of. Fix that and it will work. All right, pretty short and sweet. And then we're putting it all together. So putting it all together, you can choose any of these. I am going to choose A, do this one really quickly. We have variables for dollars, tickets, adult price, child price, senior price. I'll go to block mode. It's easier to follow on the screen. All right, the first one works. Okay, so adult ticket. We click the button. All right, the ticket increases, the dollar value increases. We want the same thing to happen with child and senior. So what we are going to do is just copy all of this code and we're going to paste it, and we're just going to replace adult price with child price, and we're going to come down here and we're going to paste it again, and we're going to replace adult price with senior price. Run. Adult ticket, child ticket should be the correct amount, $8.50. Senior ticket, $10. All right, and we are done. Okay, for time's sake, I'm going to skip over these two, but if you have questions, reach out. All right, now we just have some follow-up questions. So for these, just answer these to the best of your ability. We will review these later in my class. It's just want to know, well, there you go, answer is given away. What will be displayed? we create a variable. My points gets 2, my points gets 5, my points gets my points plus 1. So 5 plus 1, it would be 6. All right, and then lastly, we're going to follow this. So A is getting a random number from 1 to 10. B is getting a random number from 10 to 20. All right, which of the following could not possibly be the outcome? So it's displaying A, display B, B. Remember, A is 1 to 10. B is 10 to 20. D is the only one it could not be, because right here we were assigning a value from 10 to 20. It cannot be 5. Okay, any of these other combinations are theoretically possible. Alrighty, so that ends a quick rundown of lesson 3 in unit 4. We'll be back with lesson 4.